Hey, it's Tom, and happy summer. I hope you're well. I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. Amy, Maddie, and I were up here at our lake house right here on Pemaquid Lake in the mid-coast, and we celebrate our anniversary, which is the 1st of July, and Maddie's birthday, which is the 2nd, and of course we have the 4th. So it's a busy time of year. It's a wonderful place to be. If you haven't visited the Mid-Coast, we live in the summertime on and off in our home just north of Damariscotta in a little town called Noblesboro. There's some great lakes in the area, and downtown Damariscotta is cool. There's a lot of folks that have moved up here, and we've worked with a lot of them. We've got a member of our team, Debbie L., who lives up in the Booth Bay area, and Amy's family's been up here for something like 6 generations. So we're working with a lot of folks, not only in Portland and Greater Portland, but also coming up the Mid-Coast to Lakes region. What I like to say, our zone is anywhere from Falmouth to Freiburg and Camden to Kittery. That's sort of the sweet spot. And obviously we've got a strong foothold up here in these wonderful little sections of our Mid-Coast area. So happy summer. Again, I hope all is well. Quick shout out and a favor to ask you is to sign up. If you can volunteer, please do so. We've got a wonderful race coming up. It's our signature event, and Amy spends a tremendous amount of time on that every year. It is the Portland Kids Duathlon. So all the coffee you can drink on me, all the smiles you can ever hope for. This is what I call the cutest race in America. And click on that button right there. I'd love to see you, and I would really appreciate it, and the kids would also really appreciate you taking the time to volunteer. So this fast-moving email is your update. First and foremost, it is the second best time of year to list your home. Or if you've been on the market as a seller, now's the time to take that price drop. We got about 60 days before kids go back to school in Maine. It's a late Labor Day. So that's plenty of time to adjust your price if your home is lingered on the market, or to list your home. Now, I wouldn't artificially rush to the market, still presenting your home in the best possible way. Again, something we call launch versus list is incredibly important. So we can help you do that. We can do that in days. We can do that in a couple of weeks. But going to market and making that first impression right out of the gate is vitally, vitally important. Most deals close in 30 to 45 days. Most closings happen in that frame time. So I just recently had a seller ask, I don't want to have my family disrupted when school starts if the home is lingering on the market. Well, you got plenty of time. There's no doubt that we can be closed prior to school beginning. So reach out to us. You haven't missed it. You have not missed the market. Let's go to market the right way. If you know somebody who's thinking of selling, definitely reach out to us. Now, on the buy side of this equation, there is definitely more inventory. Sellers now are taking those price drops. So it's a great time to be a buyer. The other part is you're going to be competing with less people. Right in back of me is a wonderful Maine summer, just beginning. I call this the official start of summer, that July 4th weekend. So homes will start to linger on the market a little bit longer. You're going to have less potential for bidding wars, less competition out there. So buyers, pull yourself off the beach, pull yourself away from the barbecue, get out there and continue to look at homes. You still may need to pounce and be quick, what I call patient and pounce. You may need to get out there and act quickly, but again, not everything is going to go bidding war. Not everything is going to go off the market instantly because many of your competing buyers are out there enjoying Maine. So swim against that current. Still enjoy it, but be active and in the market and get that dream home. Don't miss out. The next thing is the deep fake. So I was literally just on Peaks Island with some buyers, and I was just shocked. I'll be honest with you. We toured a property. We made a special trip, and the images online and what we experienced in person were shockingly different. Now, it's tempting. AI has made it so easy for agents to manipulate photos And what started with, hey, that car's kind of junky in front of the house, I'm just going to remove it. Or, hey, there's some trash or a recycling bin out front, I can just take that quickly and in a matter of seconds remove that from the picture. To me, those things are up for grabs. Small changes like that, small improvements to the way it looks, but keeping truthful to the property are well within the bounds of what should be allowed and is in good taste in real estate. Transforming a property from what it is to something that it could be, making renovations, if you will, painting a property, changing the entire landscaping, adding hardscapes. To me, that's just too far. So yeah, call it catfishing, call it bait and switch, call it whatever you want. It has gone too far. So message to agents, let's not get carried away here. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And there's some truth in advertising that we should be maintaining. We don't want people to arrive at a property and be disappointed, right? We want them to be pleasantly surprised, not like, oh my God, what is this? And literally at this property, we went back and looked at the images and we were just shocked that they changed the images that much. For sellers, don't push your agents to make these changes. Have it be enhanced maybe a teeny bit, but not completely renovated. It's going to put you in a competitive disadvantage as people are actually very disappointed and feeling a little bit like you're being unethical. Finally, as buyers, be smart. Study the Google Earth listing, take the street view, drive by if you possibly can, and just be ready when you arrive that there may be some of this going on if it looks too good to be true. The next one is you being sold. Now, I recently worked with some clients, some buyers that were surprised to learn that when they click on that, I want to know more, or contact the agent or call agent, that they were being sold to the highest bidder. Being in industry, I'm not surprised by it, and I don't want to be cynical about this, but maybe we all shouldn't be surprised by it with so many things being duplicit, if you will. You're not contacting the agent. You're not contacting the listing agent. You are literally being sold, and this is what happens, and we've participated in this or been pitched this, where you bid on leads. So I did this for one of my own listings. I encourage you to do it. You can click right there, go into one of my listings and try to contact me. The websites purposely make it confusing. And if you click on that, you're literally going to be contacted by somebody who has bid on that impression. If you meet them at the property, they're going to try to force you to sign a document that says you're going to work with them. These are typically unexperienced agents. They're typically not even familiar with the property at all, or even the location. And in this case, when I literally called my own listing. I called Zillow. I was greeted by a person at Zillow headquarters, some operator, and they said, we'll connect you with an agent. They asked a couple of questions. And the agent they connected me with, seemed nice and everything, but that doesn't matter. This isn't a popularity contest. This agent is based an hour away from Portland, has never seen this property. I know they haven't, and knows nothing about it. But the layperson, the buyer out there, not realizing that, clicks on this contact agent, and it is implied that you're contacting the listing agent. So be smart. If you're interested in a property, reach out to us. We can help you anywhere in Greater Portland, or again in that area from Falmouth to Freiburg and Camden to Kittery. Send us a little bit of a snapshot. You can go onto that Zillow page, or Trulia, or Redfin, or you name it, and grab the link, forward it to us, and we'll send you the real information. And more importantly, you'll have somebody and a team behind you that really knows their stuff and is really going to advocate for you, versus oftentimes the least experienced agents bid on these, the ones that are new to the market. So don't fall for that. Don't fall into that unethical trap that these big multinational corporations do to try to line their pockets. And good for them, but be a savvy buyer, be a savvy consumer. Okay, you're charging what? Now, I just got off the phone, I think it was yesterday, and I'm going out to see these clients today, the potential clients. And they put a property under contract in Massachusetts. They said, Tom, we know you sell a lot of condos in Portland. we want to meet up with you. And we set the appointment. At the end of the call, I heard a voice in the background. And the woman who I was speaking to said, hey, my husband wants to know the percentage you charge for commission. And so I shared my information. I shared the fact that we give a 1% discount if we represent both the buyer and the seller in the transaction. And that was followed up with, I thought, Tom, that the sellers no longer had to pay the buyer broker commission. There was some type of a lawsuit or settlement or something like that. And I said, that's a great question. You're absolutely right. There was a class action settlement by the National Association of Realtors. And folks, this has led to a lot of misunderstandings, and it's still coming up now. Now, every agency and every agent's going to do this differently, and every market is going to handle this differently. But in our market, in Greater Portland, and especially in Portland, and I know for me and my team and my company, what we're doing is what we have been doing. Now, the idea that you as a seller should put the burden of the payment to a buyer broker on the buyer is absolutely ludicrous. The idea that a buyer is not going to be represented, well, it's one of the most important financial decisions of that buyer's life, so they are going to be represented by somebody. They're going to be walking around with a buyer broker, and that person needs to be paid and deserves to be paid. They are doing a service, and that needs to be paid for. Now, who should pay? Well, if you as a seller put that burden on the buyer, that buyer's going to come up with that money outside of the loan, try to figure out how to factor it into the loan, or more than likely, they are literally going to take it off the offer price that they have. So in essence, you are going to pay one way or the other, or if you make it incredibly difficult, that buyer's just going to move on to another property where that seller is going to pay. So in essence, it doesn't really affect your bottom line, seller. And in our market, and again, with me and my team, we are advising our sellers that it is in their best interest, and significantly so, to continue the way that this business has been conducted for over a century. And that's where the listing agent comes in. We talk to you about the commission we're going to charge you, and we split that commission evenly. And that's another important point here. Even splitting the commission is something you as a seller should absolutely demand and absolutely ask about. This is kind of an ugly thing that's been going on in our industry for probably the last 3 to 4 years, and is happening more and more now. Not so much in Portland and Greater Portland, but in York County especially, where agents will walk in, talk to a seller and say, hey, I'm doing more work as your listing agent, and if I'm charging you 6%, let's just use that number, I should get 4 and the other agency should get 2. Now, to me, that is the height of a lack of fiduciary responsibility on behalf of that agent. They're lining their pocket more than they are paying to a cooperating buyer broker. Justify it any way you want. It's not the right thing to do, and it's not in your seller's best interest, listing agents. We should be sharing commission evenly, and that's what we do on me and my team. And that way there, we are incentivizing and paying a buyer broker to bring us a highly qualified buyer. Once again, seller, that is in your best interest, not putting that burden on the buyer or the buyer broker, and also not paying that person a fair and going rate. So important thing there, it's not just about what you're charging, it's about how you're splitting that, and the fact that we are actually paying, again, as a seller, the buyer broker commission. Now, I'll let you know how this meeting goes. I hope to have this conversation live and in person with them and convince them that it's in their best interest. You're going to make more money, sell for a higher price, and the process is going to go better if you don't cheap out. Again, you get what you pay for in life. We've all learned that by now. The next thing on the list is my name. Now, hey, it does matter. You know, there's a belief that maybe it doesn't matter. And this is promoted by some of the big box agencies out there, where it really doesn't matter who it is. It's all about a process that you use and go through, where any agent can do the same thing. Well, yeah, any architect can do the same thing. Any dentist can do the same thing. Any attorney can do the same thing. But there are people at the top of their game. And there are doctors at the top of the game that perform more knee surgeries or more shoulder surgeries or more procedures than any other, let's just say in your market or even nationally and internationally. If you had the opportunity to go with the very best, highest qualified, most respected, most accomplished, most experienced in your area, would you? Now, the cool thing about our industry is even think about hair stylist, right? I mean, look at my hair. You pay more by going to the owner, right? You pay more by going to the senior stylist versus the person who is just out of hairdressing school. In real estate, you don't pay more. And that's the crazy thing about it. You can work with, and I'm not trying to toot my horn here, but you can work with somebody with over 20 years of experience who sells more properties in our market than anyone, who's one of the top agents in the state for the same price as the person who literally just got their license. So think about that. Why wouldn't you go there? Why would you take a chance to go with somebody who is less experienced and has less of a track record? It doesn't make any sense. This is one of the most consequential, important, impactful financial and lifestyle decisions, whether that's the purchase or the sale. Choose wisely. Who you choose matters. Now, if you think about that in single families, nobody's even close in Portland. Over the last 20 plus years, we've sold more and more high-end properties than anyone. When it comes to multis, I find it actually, I'm not going to say laughable, but kind of disappointing, the idea that sellers feel like they don't deserve the very best marketing. We bring high-end marketing that we bring to our multi-million-dollar single families and condos to help sellers of 2, 3, and 4 units especially, but even more so, the best quality multifamilies in Portland and Greater Portland achieve the highest price per unit. Now, that's the true measure. We've sold all of the top price 2s, 3s, and 4 unit properties in Portland over the last 20 years, and we've maintained the highest price per unit. So don't settle just because you have a multifamily. Don't think you have to go with some specialist in that category and therefore settle for them to do a half-baked job because it's a multifamily. You deserve better. You deserve the best marketing possible, and that's what we provide. And finally, underneath condominiums, it's complicated, folks. There are people that specialize in this and maybe sell in one particular building. We have sold, because of our 2 offices on the peninsula and our focus on Portland, we've sold more condos and more buildings and more associations, from tiny little 2 and 3 unit associations up to buildings that have 100 and 150 units in them. We know the associations, we know the rules, the regs, we know where your storage is, and we know the presidents of the associations and treasurers and secretaries to help us market those units effectively and answer those questions up front. Finally, developers. Hey, I'm a developer. I am currently developing properties in Portland. If you are a developer or know somebody who might be, from something that is small to something that's large, we can help you navigate because we've been there. We can help you identify the lots, what to purchase. We can help you connect with local architects who are wonderful. We can help you overcome local opposition. There's a lot of NIMBYs out there. We can also help you navigate getting it permitted and approved by the city. We know all the players at City Council. Now, not everybody does this. Very, very few agents have done anything remotely like I'm talking about, if any. Beyond that, we can help you identify what to build and where to build. You know, there's a unique inventory that is right for your particular site, and every site's not the same. So if you know somebody who's developing, could be developing, thinking of buying Portland, team them up with us. We can certainly help them identify properties, get those approvals, and sell out and have sales success. We're uniquely qualified to do that because we have been there. I'm a developer, I'm a real estate agent, and we bring that unique skill set and knowledge to help you achieve success. So finally, we've got some stats here, folks. We've got the end of year, excuse me, the end of the 6-month term. This is the half-year mark. We've got some June stats. I'm not going to get into all those details, so check those out. It has been a stable year. We continue to see good demand. We fully expect the summer to be active, but there's going to be more inventory. Again, if you're a seller and you're thinking of getting on the market, I would do so right now in the second best time of the year. If you're lingering in the market, make sure you take that sizable price drop. Usually at a certain price point, 10 and 20 and even 30,000 is not going to be enough if you're lingering on the market. If you're a buyer, let's get back out there. Let's look, go against the grain of the summer and back at me. And that's it. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the summer. I'll see you again in August on another one of these updates. And be well. I appreciate any connections. I hope to see you at the Kids Duathlon. Cheers.